In 1910, a traveling fortune teller made two predictions about a young Italian woman. All her children will die young, and she'll end up in prison or a criminal asylum. Over the next 20 years, she got pregnant 17 times. 10 of her babies died. She buried 10 small coffins, one after another. The prophecy was coming true. By 1940, only 4 of her children had survived. When her favorite son was drafted into World War II, she became convinced death was coming for him too, unless she stopped it. She believed she could break the curse with the right spell, but the spell required payment, human sacrifice. Between 1939 and 1940, 3 women disappeared from the Italian town of Correggio. She boiled their bodies into soap and baked their blood into tea cakes. When police finally arrested her and asked where the bodies were, she smiled and said, "You've already washed your hands with them." This is the story of Leonarda Cianciulli, the soap maker of Correggio. We're still trying to answer one question. Was she a monster or just a mother who had lost too much? But to understand how we got here, we need to go back further. Not to Leonarda's birth, but to her mother's nightmare. Amelia Dinolfi was born into a wealthy family in 1870s southern Italy. Beautiful, well-connected, with her whole future planned out. Until one night when a drunk man named Mariano followed her home from church and attacked her in an alley. In 1870s Catholic Italy, this wasn't just assault, it was social destruction. A woman's virginity was her currency. Without it, she was worthless. Amelia's parents didn't seek justice. They forced her to marry her rapist to avoid scandal. She went from a mansion to a shack, from comfort to brutal poverty with a violent alcoholic husband. When Amelia got pregnant, she looked at her belly with pure hatred. That baby was Leonarda. Leonarda Cianciulli was born on April 18, 1894, into a house where she was never wanted. Her mother didn't just neglect her. She told Leonarda repeatedly that she was cursed. Leonarda was brought into the world by the devil. She warned Leonarda that nothing but evil would result from her life. The abuse was constant, physical, verbal, relentless. At 13, Leonarda tied a noose and tried to hang herself. The rope broke. At 14, she tried again. What was her mother's reaction when she survived? "I was sorry to see you alive." Think about that. Your mother wishes you had succeeded. Leonarda learned she was completely alone. If she wanted to survive, she would have to take control, by any means necessary. At 17, she found an escape. Raphael Pansardi, a kind registry clerk. When Leonarda married him against her mother's wishes, Amelia screamed a final curse. "You will lose everything. You will suffer as I have suffered." Leonarda believed every word. The fortune teller's predictions weren't the only supernatural beliefs Leonarda held. In early 1900s rural Italy, superstition mixed with Catholicism created something darker. Curses, hexes, magical thinking, for desperate people with no education and no options. This was reality. And then Leonarda's reality became a nightmare that seemed to prove the fortune teller right. Between 1914 and 1930, she was pregnant 17 times. 3 pregnancies ended in miscarriage. 10 children died in infancy, from disease, malnutrition, the grinding poverty that stalked their lives. Can you imagine watching 10 of your own children die? Burying 10 small white coffins. Leonarda wrote in her prison memoir, "Almost every night I dreamed of small white coffins swallowed one after the other by black earth." By the 1930s, only 4 children had survived past childhood. And with each dead baby, Leonarda's mind fractured more. She became obsessed with understanding why death kept taking her children. She devoured books on astrology, hexes, protective spells. She visited witches. She bought charms. She became convinced that only through magic could she keep death away. In 1930, an earthquake destroyed their home. The family moved north to Correggio, a small town in northern Italy. Here, Leonarda reinvented herself. She opened a shop selling household goods and soap. Soap she made herself using traditional methods with caustic soda and animal fat. She also offered palm readings and fortune-telling. The townspeople loved her. They saw a charming, mysterious woman, a wise grandmother who made delicious tea cakes and told entertaining fortunes about their futures. They had no idea that behind the warm smile, Leonarda's paranoia was growing. She genuinely believed supernatural forces controlled everything. And when war came, she was ready to act on those beliefs. September 1939, Germany invades Poland. War sweeps across Europe. Leonarda's favorite son, Giuseppe, one of the 4 who survived, enlisted in the Italian army. For Leonarda, this was the moment she had feared her entire life. The curse was coming for her last children. Death was going to take Giuseppe just like the fortune teller predicted. In her fractured mind, one thought became an obsession. The universe required balance. If she wanted Giuseppe to live, someone else had to die. A trade, a sacrifice. She wouldn't target just anyone. She would choose women like herself, lonely, desperate, invisible women nobody would miss. Faustina Setti was 70 years old and had never been married. In a culture where a woman's entire worth was measured by her husband and children, Faustina had spent 7 decades being invisible. People looked through her. She walked with her head down, spoke in whispers. She had learned to make herself small because unmarried women were pitied at best, mocked at worst. But Faustina had one dream she never let go of. Someday, someone would want her. In late 1939, she came to Leonarda's shop seeking a palm reading. Leonarda saw an opportunity. She told Faustina exactly what she desperately wanted to hear. "I've found you a husband." Faustina's eyes filled with tears. After 70 years of being nobody, someone finally saw her. The husband was in Pola, Leonarda explained, a wealthy older man looking for a mature, responsible wife. But Faustina had to leave immediately and tell no one, or the arrangement would fall through. Faustina sold her few belongings. Everything she owned fit in one suitcase. She dyed her gray hair dark brown to look younger. She wrote goodbye letters to her family explaining she was getting married. On December 17, 1939, she went to Leonarda's house to celebrate with wine before her journey. The wine was drugged with sedatives. As Faustina's vision blurred, as the room started spinning, the last thought she probably had was, "Finally, after 70 years, I'm going to be loved." Leonarda went to the closet and pulled out an axe. One blow to the neck nearly decapitated Faustina. Her head hung by a strip of skin. What happened next wasn't rage. It was ritual. Leonarda dragged the body to her kitchen. She dismembered it into 9 pieces, collected the blood in a basin, threw the body parts into a large pot with 7 kilograms of caustic soda, and boiled them for hours until they dissolved into a thick, dark sludge. She poured the remains into a septic tank. Then she took the blood, dried it in her oven until it became crunchy powder, and mixed it with flour, sugar, chocolate, milk, and eggs. She baked tea cakes. She ate them. She fed them to Giuseppe. She served them to neighbors who visited. Giuseppe wrote home from the army saying he was safe. Leonarda believed the sacrifice worked. She decided to do it again. Francesca Soavi was 55, a school teacher tired of small-town life. When Leonarda promised her a better teaching position in Piacenza, higher pay, more respect, a fresh start, Francesca couldn't believe her luck. Like Faustina, she wrote goodbye letters explaining she was leaving for a new job. She came to Leonarda's house for a farewell drink. Like Faustina, she was never left alive. But this time, Leonarda wasn't nervous. She knew exactly how much sedative to use, exactly how long to boil the remains, exactly how to cover her tracks. Francesca disappeared on September 5th, 1940. No one came looking. The letters explained everything. 2 sacrifices made. Giuseppe is still alive. The spell was working. Virginia Cacioppo had once been somebody. She had sung at La Scala, the most famous opera house in the world. She had commanded stages, worn beautiful gowns, and heard thunderous applause. Now in her 50s, she gave voice lessons to children in a cramped apartment, barely surviving. When Leonarda promised her a position as secretary to a theater impresario in Florence, a chance to be near the opera world again, to matter again, Virginia would have paid anything. And she did. She liquidated everything and took it all. Virginia couldn't stay completely quiet. She mentioned to a few people that the nice soap lady had found her a wonderful opportunity, but she was sworn to secrecy about details. On September 30th, 1940, Virginia visited Leonarda one last time to say thank you and goodbye. Drugged wine, axe to the neck, dismemberment. But Virginia's body was different. Leonarda would later testify that Virginia's flesh was fat and white. When boiled with caustic soda, it didn't dissolve into sludge like the others. It turned into smooth, creamy soap. Leonarda was delighted. She added perfume to make it smell nice, cut it into bars, and gave them to neighbors as gifts. They washed their hands and clothes with what remained of Virginia Cacioppo. 3 women gone, 3 sacrifices made. Giuseppe still safe in the army. Leonarda thought she had broken the curse. She made one fatal mistake. Albertina Fanti was Virginia's sister-in-law, and unlike everyone else in Correggio, she didn't buy the story. She knew Virginia too well. Virginia was a diva, dramatic, attention-seeking, theatrical. The idea that she would disappear to Florence without throwing herself a grand farewell party, without soaking up one last moment in the spotlight, it made no sense. Albertina started asking questions. Virginia had liquidated 50,000 lire. Where did that money go? The letters supposedly from Florence arrived too quickly after Virginia left. The phrasing seemed stiff, forced, not Virginia's flamboyant style at all. Albertina walked the streets asking neighbors, who was the last person to see Virginia? Where was she going? Every witness pointed to the same place, the quaint little house at the end of the street, Leonarda Cianciulli's house. Albertina didn't trust the local police. Leonarda was too beloved in town. Instead, she went straight to the regional police headquarters in Reggio Emilia. She laid out her theory. Virginia hadn't run away to Florence. She had been murdered. The superintendent was skeptical. A grandmother killing 3 women? Absurd. But Albertina mentioned something specific, a treasury bond Virginia had been carrying. If that bond showed up being cashed, it would prove foul play. Police began watching Leonarda. Within days, they saw her visiting banks and pawn shops. When they checked the serial numbers on the bonds she was cashing, they found a match. The bonds belonged to Virginia Cacioppo. Police raided Leonarda's home expecting to find bodies, blood, and evidence of violence. Instead, they found nothing. The house was immaculate, no blood on the walls, no bodies hidden anywhere. But they did find something strange. Hidden among Leonarda's possessions were items that didn't belong to her. Virginia's expensive fur coat, Francesca's jewelry. At the police station, Leonarda played innocent at first. She was just a confused grandmother. These were gifts from friends who had moved away. She stuck to this story for hours. Then police brought in Giuseppe. The police knew Leonarda wouldn't break, so they tricked her. They told, "We know your son helped you, so he is facing the death penalty." That shattered her. "He is innocent," she screamed. "I did it alone." She didn't just confess, she bragged. She explained the chemistry like a chef. She used 7 kilograms of caustic soda per person. She boiled the flesh until it turned into a dark mush. Blood dried in the oven to make the tea cakes. When horrified officers asked where the bodies were, Leonarda laughed and pointed to the soap by the sink and said, "You've already washed your hands with them." In 1946, the courtroom anticipated the appearance of a monster. They got a smiling grandmother. But when prosecutors got the details wrong, she interrupted. Virginia was the best. Her flesh was white and fat, the soap was creamy, and the cakes, they were really sweet. The court didn't believe a small woman could chop up a body alone. So they took her to a morgue. Leonarda dismembered a corpse into 9 perfect pieces in under 12 minutes. The room went dead silent. The judge sentenced her to 30 years in prison and 3 years in an asylum. Exactly what the fortune teller had predicted decades before. The legacy Leonarda died in the asylum, convinced she was a hero who had saved her son. And the terrifying part? Her son did survive the war. To her, the magic worked. Today, her boiling pot sits in a museum in Rome. It reminds us of an uncomfortable truth. Evil doesn't always look like a monster. Share your thoughts on the comments, and thanks for watching.